Hi guys, it's Steve. Be sure to like and subscribe. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the tough choices that we have to make over here sometimes when things happen back home and how hard those decisions can be. I had somebody in my family get sick the other day, and they almost passed away, but fortunately they didn't. What happened was there's something to do with their blood, and it became very serious, but fortunately they pulled out of it and they're okay now. But anyhow, you know, when things like that happen, we have choices that we have to make. And I was thinking about all the things that could happen, and you know, sometimes when people go to a foreign place, they don't think about the tough choices that they have to make. And one of them is that if somebody gets sick or somebody passes away, you have to make the decision of whether you're going to go home or not. And some of us don't have the money, and it could change everything for us if we spend a lot of money to go home, because we'd use up some of our emergency reserves. This is why I push on people to do a lot of emergency reserves, guys, because sometimes you might need to go home. But in these tough times that we're in today, it's not as easy as 1, 2, 3, let's go home. Because not only do you have to get things here to get on a plane, you have to get doctor's notes and things like that, but you know, you also have to go home to a 14-day quarantine in a hotel, you know. And here I think you have to get some doctor's note to get on a plane now to leave the country. And it's just, there's so many different things, and the things are changing all the time. So you have to call up the airline to ask them what's going on. How do I get back home now? You might not be able to get your plane ticket for a few days, maybe even a week. And by the time you get there, if it's a funeral or something like that, you know, they might already be buried. Or if somebody's sick, they might have already passed away, or, you know, whatever. You know, and these are the things you have to worry about. So these are big choices, guys, because for me, I've decided that if something happens, I'm probably going to end up staying here, you know, unless my sister asks me to come home, or one of my relatives asked me to come home, or, you know, a friend asked me to come home because they were really sick. You know, these are the issues we have to contend with, you know, and you have to make that decision. You know, like if they asked me to come home to help them, you know, I have some friends I would go home to help because they've helped me. One is my power of attorney. I would help her. I would help my sister. I would help, you know, a couple of my cousins, you know, and, you know, I would surely go home for a little while to help them. But I have to always look at the costs here, and would I be able to come back, and could I, you know, recoup those costs? I probably could, because I do pretty well, you know, here, and I'm pretty successful here, which I'm very blessed with. When I first came here, I came here with very little, and now I get a lot more. And later on, as I age, I'll get even more, because I'll get Social Security too, which I don't currently get. So, but I live decent now. But I mean, these choices that we must make, I want you guys to think about that. And you know, when you have to take a plane back, when you spend, you know, it's the quickest way to leaving you with less, you know, because you don't get that back when you buy a plane ticket going back and forth, you know, and you have to consider that. And they're tough choices to make, because you have family here and you have family there. And sometimes you have to make the choice of, okay, do I leave here and leave my family and make the choice of possibly not having enough to come back and possibly having to stay in the United States, or what have you? Because some expats just don't have that kind of money around. And this is why emergency funds over here mean so much to people. Because without these emergency funds, you can't survive here and live a normal life, you know. And granted, these tough times, perilous times, have made things much tougher because of the virus. So much so that, you know, we can't travel easily, and if we do travel, we have to sit in a hotel sometimes for 14 days to self-quarantine or what have you. And these are the issues. And we have to get doctor's notes or whatever to travel also. So, you know, before you come over here, guys, really consider what I'm saying here. And like we talked about the other day too, is hospital things. You need to have insurance, and you know, these are the biggest decisions that you're gonna make to come over here. If you choose no insurance and come over here, you're living a dangerous life. And if you come over here with no emergency money, big mistakes can happen, and they will. If somebody in your family passes away and you don't have the money to get home, you're pretty much done. You know, you're staying here no matter what. Some of us will have to make tough choices of, like I said, whether we stay here or we go back home, because some of us have adopted families here or got married or what have you, and that's all our choices. So play it safe, guys, when you come over here. I understand that, you know, some of you guys don't have a lot of money, and if you don't have the money to come here, don't come. Because if an emergency pops up back home, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna have enough money to come home and then come back and restart your lifestyle here? Are you gonna be able to do that? You have to ask yourself these questions, you know? And what happens if you're in the United States? Because some of these insurances will only cover you in the Philippines. Like if you're Pacific Cross, and well, it'll cover you outside, but some might not cover you in the United States. If you go through Pacific Prime has insurances in almost every country in the world except the United States, because it's so expensive. You have to have that added on, I believe, and it's much more expensive. So, you know, when you leave the country, you might not be insured also, and that's a risk that you take also. And these are things that all of you guys have to keep in your head, because, you know, it's not 1, 2, 3. I can travel everywhere. You know, it's the same from the United States. Your insurance over there is not going to cover you over here in most cases. You know, some people are lucky and they do have really, really good insurances that will cover them all throughout the world. But most people aren't, you know, and that most people are not covered. And these are things you want to consider. But, you know, like with what happened to me the other day, I want you to consider these things, guys, that when you leave the country, that it might be the last time that you see one of your relatives, you know, or your friends, or whomever, you know, that when you go back, those people might be missing, because these people could pass away and you might not be able to be there for them, you know, and those are things to consider. And I've made that choice, and I've already talked with most of my family about that, and they know that if something happens, I might not be able to make it back, you know. And you have to have those talks with your family, and be sure that you do have those talks. They're very important to let them know that you still love them and you still care for them and what have you, you know, because you just want that known. And I'm lucky that over here I have Magic Jack, and we have all these, you know, social apps and stuff like that we can talk on and talk with our family. So for me, I mean, I talk with my sister daily, and I talk with my cousin pretty often, and my friends I speak with pretty often. And, you know, I'm blessed, we're blessed that we have those apps and that we can talk to people from all around the world. So even if somebody's in the hospital, as long as they have their phone with them, we can still talk to them and let them know that we love them. And that's the great thing about, you know, the tech world that we live in today. But it's just something I wanted to bring up today, guys, because after what happened the other day, I mean, I was just saying to myself, I says, you know, this would be a great video to talk about, to discuss, because some people don't understand the repercussions of when they come to another country, that things are going to happen back home and there's nothing you can do because you can't be there. And it's not like it's 1, 2, 3, you can hop on a plane and be there now like you used to be able to, because you still got the 14-day quarantines and, you know, all those issues. So anyway, guys, God bless. Take care.